So I wanted to share something with you that's pretty special to me, but it's the very first video I ever did on YouTube. It was probably 10 years ago, but it is me interviewing my grandfather, who is deceased now. He died from cancer, and so he's talking about the good old days in Sequoia County, Oklahoma, and what he saw as a young kid, and all the mischievous things that happens in Oklahoma and all that kind of stuff. And it's really a special thing that I was able to get that before he passed. I wish I'd have done more, but so that was my very first interview ever. And I'm pretty proud of it, probably more proud of it than any other interview I've ever done. Of course, I've only done a few, but I'm really, really proud of that, and I just happened to think about it today. And
I'm here with my grandpa, Corky Lockhart, and we're going to talk about the outlaw days in Sequoia County.
Yeah, this goes back to the 30s now. I'm a little further back than that, but I wasn't here when that all happened.
Yeah.
But I sat at my old table many a morning, be a stranger sitting there, and somebody knock on the door, and he'd go out the back door. And my dad would say that he's scouting, son. That was back in the middle 30s.
He was scouting to rob banks?
Yeah. I had a brother that hid their cars out all the time for him, and they'd rob banks. I had two uncles that were bank robbers. But my dad never was jail in a day in his life, but his two brothers were. And they had friends running around up there at Marble City and Cookton Hills. I was sitting, a 4-year-old sitting in a wagon one time as a man come up the road and had a team of horses and a cultivator behind him. Walking along, another man walking down the hill road with a shotgun over his shoulder, and when they got side by side, this man with a shotgun hollered at him, and he turned around and he shot him both barrels. And the pretty boy got one shot off and got before he died with a pistol in his hand.
No names.
But that was buried on my mind all my life. That there was between 4 and 5 year old.
And you saw that? And,
I saw that.
And what, do you ever know why they did that?
Never did know why he did it. Women, I'm sure, it was women deals. Back then, that's about all your thing could be, something about women and bank robbing, where nowadays it's drugs.
Yeah. And what were some of the stories that your dad told you about back in the day?
He talked about his brother quite a bit. And, one brother, he robbed several banks. And they finally got caught. And they sent him to McAllister. Then they went and furloughed him. They gave him a furlough to go home and help on the crops. But instead of helping in the crops, he started robbing banks again, never to go back. He scouted and robbed banks for a few years, and they finally killed him up around Tulsa. Killed him. And the other uncle, he goes to pen in Arkansas for 10 years, and he comes out and gets in McAllister up here for another 5 years. That always bothered Dad because he couldn't understand why they went bad. But in old days back then or something, boy, you. And
Didn't they come out of the army and didn't have any money and stuff?
yeah, that's what Dad always told me. He said they got World War I. They both come out of the service and they didn't have no money. And the younger brother was playing cards with a man named Henry Starr. And Henry asked him when he went broke in his poker game, they was playing poker, and he said, asked if he ready to go with him, and he said, yeah. So they go to Harrison, Arkansas, rob a bank, and Henry Starr gets killed in the bank robbery
Wow.
there in Harrison, Arkansas. And Ed, that's my uncle, Ed Lockhart, he picked up the gang then, and he goes ahead robbing banks. And they had a shootout at Eureka, Arkansas, and a couple of gang members got shot and killed there in that robbery. So Ed, he scouted then till he got picked up in South Oklahoma here, and they sent him to McAllister, and then he furloughed out, and he started robbing again. And the story I had to tell about him one time, I was selling coal right after me and the wife got married, and went up to a little store south of Vian. This colored man running the store. Nope, didn't need no coal. And I gave him my name. Boy, he stopped me before I left and said, "Dump that coal." Said, "I won't take all that load of coal." On account, said, "Your uncle?" Said, "Ed Lockhart." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, he's called I got this store." Said, he played poker one time at my house, and he won all the money, and he gave it all to me. But my belief of what had happened, they'd robbed a Gore there in a bank in Gore, Oklahoma, and they hid out in his house, and they paid him for hiding out. That's where he come up with the money. It wasn't no poker game in my mind. But anyway, he wound up getting killed in Tulsa. And Ed did.
It's amazing.
Yeah, but then we going through life, and I could see them outlaws coming to our house on account they knew Dad was the brother to two outlaws, and he wouldn't snitch on them. He'd hide them out. And the older brother of mine would hide their cars out, whatever they had to. When they come pick up the car to go rob, they'd bring it back to him, and he'd hide it. Then they'd ride off in another car.
But these bank robbers, they were kind of a victim of the times, weren't they?
Oh yeah, that's the only way you get him money back then.
Yeah.
There wasn't no money out. Wasn't no jobs. So, there were several robberies and people that I'd run on to. Particularly, there was a bank robbers in Prague, Oklahoma then, and these two robberies is scouting after come in toward Sawasaw, and the sheriff and one of his deputies set up out here by Big Sawasaw Dam Creek west of Sawasaw, set up there to get them some whiskey money or whiskey off the cars. That's the little roadsides up, across the road.
Mm-hmm.
Stop sure. They didn't know his boys had robbed the bank. They'd robbed two banks in Prague, Oklahoma. And they come around the curve and seen that sign up. They just stopped and jumped out and started shooting. They killed the sheriff and shot the deputy in the head. And they went on. Of course, they got caught. They both died in prison.
Wow.
Those two. I was living there in a mile and a half of that when that happened. They just, times has all changed now, son.
Yeah.
Different now what it was back then.